welcome to this episode of Killer Creation. In this series, I create a killer and a survivor for the asymmetrical horror survival game, Dead by Daylight. I'd like to thank my followers on Twitter, the Dead by Daylight, Furry, and Horror Aminos, and all of you who have subscribed so far. We're close to 100 YouTube subscribers, so I'll need to figure out what to do for that. But enough dilly-dallying, let's learn about this episode's killer, the Hunger. Deep in the wild and untamed forests of North America, a unique creature born of the spirit of man's greed and unending hunger for more appeared. The Wendigo emerged as a twisted manifestation of the darkness of mankind, and so in turn hunts the very thing that created it. Withered and emaciated, the Wendigo is cursed with an unending hunger for the flesh of man. Its hunger can never be sated and will never kill it. It simply wanders the wilderness waiting for unwary travelers to enter its domain. The tribes of North America feared the Wendigo and believed it was a symbol of many terrible things. Some believe it heralded the coming of a blight. Others believed it appeared in response to a guilty man escaping justice, while others still believed it would inhabit the bodies of men and cause them to devour their friends and family. In all beliefs, however, the Wendigo craved human flesh and would never be satisfied. It was this drive to hunt and kill humans that grabbed the attention of the entity. There was no need for trickery or bargaining. The entity simply opened a portal to its realm where the Wendigo could smell the blood of the survivors, and it gladly charged in. There is no other creature in the entity's realm which serves its purpose so willingly as the Wendigo, but there is also no other creature which greedily keeps its kills from the entity as much as the Wendigo either. Now that we know the Hunger's background and how it came into the realm of the entity, let's check out its base stats, then find out its power. The Wendigo has a 4.6 meters per second base speed and a 32 meter terror radius. It is a tall killer, but its speed will help to compensate it somewhat so long as it isn't ravenous. You begin the game ravenous. While ravenous, your terror radius is decreased to 8 meters, and scratch marks left by survivors are 20% brighter and last 3 seconds longer. Whenever you bring a survivor into the injured state, your speed increases by 20% for 10 seconds. Whenever you bring a survivor into the dying state, you may channel the active ability button for 2 seconds to ravage a survivor, biting and clawing at the dying survivor to gain a token. Ravaged survivors cannot be picked up for 30 seconds. You lose the ravenous state when you use a token. Tokens are lost if not used within 30 seconds. The Hunger's second ability is called Fog Hunter. Fog Hunter can only be activated when you have a token and channeled the left control button for 5 seconds. When activated, you let out a baleful howl that all the survivors can hear, and the map is consumed in thick fog for 90 seconds, which reduces all noise survivors hear by 50% and visibility for all players by 50% as well. While Fog Hunter is active, your speed is reduced to 4.4 meters per second, and you may use the active ability button for 2 seconds to let out a howl every 20 seconds to reveal the locations of all survivors for 5 seconds. Once Fog Hunter is over, you become ravenous once more. So you can see that the Hunger is wholly dependent on finding and injuring survivors. While ravenous comes with some minor perks such as the small terror radius and minor speed increases, it isn't enough to bring it up to the level of other killers until it activates Fog Hunter. Activating Fog Hunter does mean that you must leave a survivor slugged, but you gain the ability to hinder the effectiveness of all survivors with its fog. And while it is slowed while Fog Hunter is active, it is much more capable of sneaking up on survivors, even when its terror radius is larger than when it's ravenous. I believe this makes the Hunger a killer that can be dangerous in both of its states, but its ability to alter the map makes it a serious pain to go up against, especially if you combine it with things like Knockout or Aura Reading perks. Speaking of perks, let's take a look at the perks the Hunger brings with it to the entity's realm. The Hunger's first perk is Desire for Flesh. Your hunger for flesh and blood is unceasing, and it drives you to hunt and kill your prey faster. For every 45, 30, or 15 seconds that you have not injured a survivor or brought a survivor into the dying state, you gain a token. Whenever you enter a chase, you enter Bloodlust 2 seconds faster for every token you have. Whenever you hit a survivor or end a chase, you lose all tokens from Desire for Flesh. The Hunger's second perk is called Infectious Strike. Your weapons are never cleaned and have become covered in countless diseases to infect your victims. Whenever you hit a survivor with a basic attack, you apply one of the following status effects at random to that survivor for 10, 20, or 30 seconds. Those status effects can be blindness, exhausted, hemorrhage, hindered, mangled, or oblivious. The Hunger's third perk is called Rending Power. There is little else in your mind other than the pain you inflict and the blood you can spill. You'll throw away an advantage if it means causing more agony. You begin the game with 1, 2, or 3 tokens. You may use the active ability button on a hooked survivor, If you do, you lose 1 token, then tear the survivor off the hook and bring them into the injured state, as well as permanently breaking the hook they were on. Doing this causes you to admire the blood around you for 5 seconds, and applies the broken status to that survivor for the rest of the game. And that will do it for the Hunger's perks. I think it brings some seriously dangerous additions to the killer side of things. Desire for Flesh makes chases much faster by taking advantage of the downtime between finding survivors. Infectious Strike makes every hit against a survivor a roll of the dice. What additional effect will a survivor have to suffer with now? Combined with Infectious Fright, or Sloppy Butcher, you can really start to sow chaos among survivors just by hitting them. Rending Power is an extremely dangerous perk which allows you to free the survivors from hooks and give them a solid lead on running away, but in exchange, you guarantee their inability to heal. Sure, you permanently break the hook they were on, but that's a small price to pay to quicken their deaths and stop them from healing. Combined with Thanatophobia, this can really start to slow down survivors. But, now that we have the Hunger's perks out of the way, let's check out this episode's survivor, Chuck Griffith. Chuck was a survival specialist in the deep woods of Virginia. He aided in search and rescue missions, as well as taught classes about how to survive the wilderness. He lived off the grid in a small cabin and did his best not to get on anyone's bad side. He hunted for his food, grew some smaller particular crops, and raised rabbits and chickens. What few supplies he couldn't provide for himself, he'd use the money he made from rescues and classes to buy from the small town he lived relatively close to. He had a reputation for not messing with people he didn't know and having no time for others, but he was certainly the person you wanted when you were hunting or searching the woods. It was during a search for a young child that Chuck happened upon a strange sight. A cave that he had never come across before was tucked away at the bottom of a hill. He knew the woods inside and out and found its very existence a mystery. Normally he would simply have ignored it and checked his map, thinking that by some miracle he had lost his way and found a cave that was supposed to be elsewhere. But as he turned to move on, a child's voice started to call out from the cave and Chuck had no choice but to go inside. The search took him deeper and deeper into the cave, but with one misstep, Chuck was sent tumbling down a shaft and was knocked unconscious by his landing. When he awoke, there was a campfire only a few feet away and strangers sitting pensively around it. Now that we know how Chuck came into the realm of the entity, let's see how his training translates into perks for the survivors. Chuck's first perk is called Survival First Aid. Your knowledge of the outdoors allows you to keep calm and wait for help when seriously injured. Whenever you unhook another survivor, or heal another survivor 1 health state, you gain a token up to a maximum of 1, 2, or 3 tokens. Your hook progress bar goes 5% slower for each token you have. Chuck's second perk is called Tripwire. Knowing how to prepare a way to defend yourself against predators is key to survival training. You start the game with 1, 2, or 3 tokens. When interacting with a pallet, you may channel the left control button for 3 seconds. Whenever a killer goes by a pallet within 2 seconds of a survivor passing it, the pallet drops. Chuck's third perk is called Hardiness. Not everyone can handle the pressure of wilderness life, but then again, you're not everyone. Whenever you are healed from the dying state, you gain endurance for 10, 15, or 20 seconds. Any damage that would put you into the dying state will instead apply the deep wound status effect. You have 10, 15, or 20 seconds to mend yourself. And those are Chuck's perks. I think he brings some interesting tricks to keep survivors alive for much longer. Survival First Aid encourages altruism and rewards you for it by giving you more time on the hook for your teammates to rescue you. Tripwire allows you to set up safe zones that you can lead the killer to, or prepare in order to make a generator safe to repair. Combining it with any means necessary will allow you to pick up a pallet that Tripwire was on so that it can be used once more. Yes, this is my perk and my interaction ruling. Killers need to break those pallets that Tripwire is on unless they don't want any means necessary, making them even more difficult. Hardiness makes you one stubborn survivor, giving you the ability to tank a hit after coming out of the dying state. Combine it with No Mither or Unbreakable to stand up safely after being slugged, or let your friends heal you and be able to get away from the killer who might be on his way. But that will take care of Chuck's perks and this episode of Killer Creation. I hope you all found the Hunger to be a worthy and intriguing killer, and that you would want to add Chuck and his perks to your stable of survivors. Thank you all for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel for future content. If you didn't, give it a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I hope you all have a great day, and as always, stay positive.